Uh, so based on that, so since we have gone through how a sales and marketing team is structured at one of these digital marketing publishing companies, let's look at how we really prepare for one can prepare for a sales and marketing interview, and starting off just looking at what companies are looking for. It's nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, it's quite normal stuff, but just to go through a few points. So obviously a passion for technology in general, what's happening in the tech sector, and for digital marketing specifically, right? So digital marketing is changing at a frantic pace, and there's a lot to keep up with. So I mean, a company like Google will want to see whether you really have an interest and a knack for understanding, digital marketing and how it works. Two other important points would be, of course, leadership and being a team player, and these are very, very standard, attributes that a company would look for. The fourth one, specifically with regard to sales, is client management. How good are you with dealing with clients? Are you someone who can talk to clients about their issues, take them through solutions, etc., and really manage the client life cycle? The next one is more marketing related, I would think. So creativity, how creative you are. Do you think out of the box? Are you entrepreneurial? That shows the marketing team that you have a knack for being creative and coming up with great ideas. And lastly, just being able to communicate in a concise manner to a client or even to an audience if you're a marketer. So these are just very broad attributes that Google or probably another company would look for. In that regard, you can separate the questions into two broad sets. So one is role related, so really around the role, sales or marketing role, and the second one is probably something more important than the role related questions, which is fit related questions. Do you really fit with Google's culture or another LinkedIn or Facebook? So these are the two broad sets of questions I would categorize most questions into. Let's delve into the role related questions. So role related questions really are meant to gauge how well you understand the role and what motivates you to sort of apply for this role. So for example, the interviewer would want to understand how well you know your target company, because for example, if you're applying to Google, what do you know about Google? Do you know how Google works? What are Google's products and services? How does Google make money? Just to give you an example, I've done quite a few interviews now whereby it's a very simple question I ask. What is Google's business model on search, for example? And a lot of candidates actually are unable to sort of very simply answer that question, since it's a mistake on their part, because I would really expect them, if they're interested in Google, for them to understand how Google actually makes money. I mean, that's a really basic question. So that also shows you an interest and in learning about the company. So what's the company's business model? How has Google done over the past few quarters? What are the various products and services? What are the big opportunities Google sees, and what are some of the threats that Google is facing? Second is moving on from the company itself, how well you know the market itself. So since you're in sales and marketing, you should be able to talk about the advertising market, and specifically digital advertising and its growth. So what are the market trends that are taking place? What about competition? So what's happening in the market with regard to competition, and another important point with regard to consumer behavior. So how are consumers beginning to look for information or look for products and services, and how is advertising really impacting their decision? So how well do you know the market in general? And that gives a great sense to the interviewer that you have a good business sense of of the market, that of the industry that you're planning to work in. The third one is specifically the experience that you bring to the table. So if it's a sales and marketing role, so if you have relevant client and account management experience, do you have marketing experience? Have you been a part of a company whereby you design marketing campaigns? Have you grown the customer base for a company using your marketing experience, etc.? Two other points I'd like to mention are with regard to being good with numbers. I think it's always good, I've seen it in meetings as well, when you're in a sales meeting with a client. So if you have to do a quick calculation, the back of the envelope calculation, once you have a good knack for numbers, I mean, it's really easy to convince the client about a particular aspect. So the interviewer could test you with a simple market sizing question, about a relevant aspect of the advertising industry. So it's good to be prepared and good to work through and be comfortable with numbers while preparing for the interview. Another aspect is being, an ideas person. So thinking about the market in general and coming up with great ideas in terms of marketing, would be definitely be an add-on. So this is broadly what a role-related question set could look like. Next, moving into the fit-related aspect. So starting off with the top. So your career path itself, and I think that's really key. So the interviewer would really want to understand what decisions you made that led you to your current position. So are these decisions that you made knowingly or unknowingly, or even if you made it unknowingly, do you understand why your career unfolded in a certain way? Also understanding what your motivation for applying for this role. A lot of people talk, when you ask them this question, they say yes, because Google is one of the best companies, and I really want to work for Google because I know it is really innovative, for example. But that really doesn't explain to me why you specifically want to work in this role and at Google. So I think really taking the time to think through your motivation for the role is extremely key. Two other aspects are standard questions such as your strengths and weaknesses. These are aspects. These are answers that you should have at the tip of your fingers. Success and failures as well. So identifying your career successes and also some failures and what you learned from the failures, and that's really key. Another question that's important is how and what interviewers look at is how well you work in teams. So at any of these companies, I presume there's a lot of teamwork that happens. So having great examples of teamwork always help, and also having a lot of the questions could be around situations. So putting you in a situation where for example, you work at Google and you have this situation where you have a team conflict. How would you resolve it? How would you go about resolving it? So taking the time to think through these sort of questions would be really important. Similar to teamwork is leadership, right? So leadership is an aspect, I think, that cuts across industries, across jobs, and you'll see these questions in a lot of roles. So are you a leader and do you take the initiative? If you have great examples of taking the initiative, make sure you mention them. And you could also be asked situational questions in this case as well. And lastly, something that always comes up, because I think Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, all these companies are generally known to be quite fun, and they always, and a sales and marketing role always will look to see if you have other interests that you pursue. Do you have other passions, any other achievements in terms of your interests? That just shows that you're a well-rounded personality, that you like you like talking to people, you like dealing with clients, you enjoy being in that environment. So that gives a very well-rounded picture of a person. So this is broadly what a fit-related interview could look like. So I would think, in general, an interview round could last maybe three or four interviews, and I would think that 80% of what would cover would be something of either role-related or fit-related. So looking at these questions and thinking through them would put you in a really good position to tackle most questions.